All right, we are live on Instagram. We are live on Facebook. Good morning. It is the PT on Ice Daily Show brought to you by the lovely folks at the Institute of Clinical Excellence. My name is Dustin Jones. I teach modern management of the older adult, the online and the live class with Christina Previtt. It is Wednesday. That means it is Jerry on Ice, my favorite day of the week. It's also Hump Day, so you've likely got a nice little email from Jeff Moore in your inbox around 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So today, some of you all may have seen the title, Stronger Clinicians Are Better Clinicians. Stick with me here. I know that may be upsetting for some. Some may agree with that statement. Some may disagree, but hear me out on this. We'll talk about this specific topic, but then also a big announcement once we're done. Good morning, Jordan. How you doing? A big announcement of a new course after we talk about strength and how that influences our clinical capacity. So I want to tell a story, just give you some backdrop on my career. Just early on when I was transitioning from outpatient into working mainly with older adults, it was in a skilled nursing facility setting. And back then, I was mainly just a runner. I was just running. I loved running on the road, on the trail for long distances, hours on end at a time. And I was very steeped into that running culture. But as I was working with older adults, I started to realize that people need a lot more assistance than an outpatient. I had to help people with getting out of bed. I had to help them with getting out of their chair. I had to help them be able to perform different activities. Good morning, Jeff. And that was rather challenging. I found myself very tired, very exhausted. Some people I just could not even get up out of their chair, even get up out of their bed because I did not necessarily have the strength to do so. I had the endurance. I could go for miles on my feet. I could run a marathon at the drop of a hat. However, when it came to really supporting the body weight of some of my patients, it was a big struggle. Sometimes if I was trying to transfer someone or get them to do standing activities, it was a full-out max effort. I was 1 RM living at that point, and I was not likely to be able to sustain that effort throughout the day. So what happened? What happened in those situations was that many of my patients, instead of performing activities at the edge of their ability, really getting a higher intensity dose of therapeutic exercise or balance training, hopefully on their 2 feet, I was having people do seated TheraX routines. People were staying in their chair or supine. They were staying in their bed, and we were going through some different exercises, albeit, I was trying to load. I was trying to have an appropriate amount of intensity. However, they were staying in their bed, and they were staying in their chair. And when I think about that, that can seem rather harmless and just a part of our work that some people, we just cannot get up. But when I reflect on it and think about what has really limited some of my patients' progress, I like to think about that with every patient I interact with, but definitely when I think about those early days in the skilled nursing facility, what was the biggest limiting factor? And when I am honest with myself, I can say for some of my patients, and maybe many of my patients, I was the biggest limiting factor. It was not my patient's deficits. It was not their certain medical condition. It was not their particular situation. It was my weakness, my inability to provide enough of a stimulus to support them to be able to perform some of these activities where they require an external support. It was my limitations that limited my patient's progress. And I want you to think about that on your end. Can you think about those patients that were maybe max assist of 1 or maybe max assist of 2? How many of those people did you just end up doing supine or seated TheraX with rather than get them up and standing and performing some of these more functional activities? And if we were to be honest with ourselves, I would say it is a lot. So my weakness, not my patient's weakness, but my weakness may have been the biggest limiting factor for their progress. And after struggling with so many patients and learning more and starting to get surrounded by people that also lift weights, and particularly it was with kettlebells, I learned the value of loading, not just for myself, but for my work as a clinician. In the skilled nursing facility, I experienced that, but then also going on into the home health setting. I was seeing people in their home without anyone else around, and it's very easy to get to try and maintain as much safety as possible, which results in me not performing gait training with this person, with me not performing some functional standing activities, but sticking to the good old seated routine or the supine routine. I know there are patients where seated exercise and supine exercise is warranted and very beneficial for them. But I would argue for many of our folks, that is more a matter or a choice of convenience than something that they actually need. And we may be the biggest limiting factor. So we need to be strong. And that's why, especially in the world of JPT, especially in acute care, in skilled nursing facilities, in home health, in the home health arena, stronger clinicians are often going to be better clinicians. They're going to be able to support their patients, to get them up out of their bed, out of their chair, to perform some standing activities that may be a higher intensity to get that adaptation. They're going to probably get better results with their balance training as well, because we know with balance training, we need to have people at the edge of their ability. They need to have they need to be on that line of requiring some type of external support to get some adaptation. And if you are not comfortable in being able to handle your patient, if they do lose their balance, you're likely not going to get to that appropriate intensity. Stronger clinicians are better clinicians in many of these settings. I don't want to discount, clinical reasoning and critical thinking and some of those patient interaction and some of those softer skills that we value heavily here at the Institute of Clinical Excellence. But just raw strength can be very, very helpful for us as clinicians. So I'm advocating for you, the clinician that may be working with folks that require some type of external support, whether you're in acute care, a skilled nursing facility, or home health. Consider getting stronger for the benefit of yourself, but also for the benefit of your patients. You will find that you will have more confidence in your ability. You will have probably a greater toolbox to work with to be able to influence your patients. Good morning, Kristen. For you in the outpatient setting, you would likely need to get stronger as well. When you are, especially when you're trying to improve people's balance in the outpatient setting, especially with community dwelling older adults, in balance training, if you are not getting a stimulus to where people are right at the edge of requiring external support, you are likely not benefiting them in terms of balance. And if you are not sure of your ability to handle someone and to support someone at the edge of their ability, then you may be the biggest limiting factor in your patient's progress. We want to get stronger. We need to get stronger for ourselves, but then also for the patients that we take care of. So what can we do? Many of the things that we've already talked about on this podcast, but we need to learn how to handle external loads, how to handle that external resistance. So deadlifting, squatting are great to do, but what I really want to emphasize is doing these movements in a variety of manners. Any of us that have performed max assist transfers or any bed mobility, for example, and had to require or had to give a lot of support, know that it's never a perfect lift. I'm never doing a perfect hip hinge with a nice, straight spine. It's always pretty sloppy. I'm probably, rounding my back in some way, shape, or form. Not an ideal setup. I'm probably reaching super far away from my center of mass. Good morning, Gmo. And it's a difficult thing to do. But if we practice, if we train some of these movements and become strong in some of these movements in a variety of settings, that is going to benefit us tremendously. So a deadlift and a squat in various ways, whether you're loading anteriorly, where you're loading, on your back with the squat, for example, all kinds of different deadlifts, whether you're doing a kettlebell, you're doing a barbell, or a trap bar. Heavy sandbags are great as well, picking heavy sandbags up from the ground. Some of those different types of lifts in a variety of settings are going to be helpful. Loaded carries as well. Loaded carries in a variety of fashions is going to be very beneficial and translate to you being able to handle your patients when they're performing, their gait training, their balance training, or even transfer training. So those are some very practical things, something that you're already doing, but I want to encourage you to increase the variability of that in terms of the equipment that you're using, the load that you're using, and also the placement of that load that is going to be beneficial. Now, I want to go on to the next point of why we should probably be stronger clinicians and why stronger clinicians may be better clinicians is that we have a greater chance at influencing our patients if we actually practice what we preach. Here at the Institute of Clinical Excellence, we say we want to be about it. You see that hashtag a lot. It's on our t-shirt that's out now. You're going to see that on every bit of marketing that we're pushing. We want to be about it. We want to practice what we preach. Jeff Moore in his courses always says people don't need more education. They need inspiration. Yes, we can inspire with our words. Jeff's really great at that. However, our actions are likely going to be more influential. When a patient sees us actually practicing the recommended, exercise guidelines that we are preaching to them on a day-to-day basis, our odds of influencing them are going to go up dramatically. And I think the best example of this is our lovely COO, Alan Fredendahl. Alan Fredendahl, for you all that don't follow him, has been sharing his story for the past few years, and the guy has had an absolute transformation. And I would put a lot of money down to say that he has gotten more people stronger through his actions than his words in his patient interactions. I would say he's got more people stronger by sharing his journey on social media, but then in person more than those one-on-one patient interactions that he's had. And he sees a lot of patients, a lot of interactions with those folks. He has influenced people tremendously, myself included, through his actions. He is practicing what he preaches. Alan Fredendahl is a perfect example of being about it. We can do the same. We can share it online. We can demonstrate that in our day-to-day lives when we rub shoulders with people, and us being stronger can have a positive influence in our patients actually making a change and getting stronger themselves. So, big thing that I want you to think about and reflect on. What's the biggest limiting factor in your patient's progress? Is it your clinical reasoning skills? Is it maybe environmental issues? Is it social issues? What could it be? But sometimes it may be you and your physical capacity. Is your weakness getting in the way of your patient's progress? That is a tough question to ask. And I've asked that to myself several times, and I can say honestly, yes, I was the biggest limiting factor in my patient's progress. My weakness was the biggest limiting factor back then, and I would say today with some people that require max assists that are very difficult, and I'm very concerned about getting them up on their feet. Still to this day, my weakness may be the biggest limiting factor, and we have to constantly ask ourselves that. And if you say yes to that question, if that reflection, then let's get stronger. Let's be about it. Let's lift some heavy things in a variety of manners to increase our adaptability, increase our ability and capacity to help these people and get them to their edge of their ability where we know change happens, but also to be about it so we can influence the people around us, especially our patients. Okay, think about that. Leave a comment on this Facebook post here. If you're on Instagram, go on the Facebook. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. I know we're probably going to have some people disagree, but this would be a great conversation to have. Now, the big announcement, the big course announcement. So Christina Previtt and I have been teaching modern management of the older adult since, I think it was 2 years ago, just over 2 years. We started to teach the online version. Modern management of the older adult, 8 weeks online, absolutely amazing experience with that. That has grown tremendously over the past couple of years. Then for the past year, we've been doing modern management of the older adult live, the 2-day live course, where we really get to spend a lot of time in the lab portion and really break out some of these movements and progressions that we can work with older adults. And the consistent theme and feedback that we've gotten from both of those courses is that people have really enjoyed it. They've got a great foundational knowledge of how to really increase their confidence and also their competence in better serving older adults. However, an 8-week period of time is limited. 2 days on a live course is very limited as well to really dive deeper into some of these concepts that are very applicable to a lot of our work. How do we handle some of these more complex orthopedic conditions? What if someone has some type of cardiopulmonary deficit on board? What if there's a neurological issue? How do we program around some of those specific situations that a lot of our older adult patients find themselves in? MMOA Essential Foundations is what we call it now, the online course, lays a great foundation now. But for those that want to take the next level and to be able to handle the medical complexity of older adults, regardless of that person that walks into your door, to be confident and competent in being able to serve that person well, we've created modern management of the older adult advanced concepts. So this is an 8-week online course as well. You have to have taken MMOA Essential Foundations. So MMOA Essential Foundations, 8 weeks, you go through that, and then you can take advanced concepts. And what we do is the same format. We break it down to units. We meet every other week, and we have weekly assignments. So we're going to dive into kind of the neuro arena. So we're going to talk about balance training. We're going to talk about Parkinson's as well, MS. We're going to talk about the impact of stroke in kind of the cardiovascular, cardiopulmonary section. And how do we handle people that may have congestive heart failure or COPD? How can we push them within reason and to maintain safety? What about some of those orthopedic issues that we all are familiar with but have a difficult time managing in the clinic? People that may have that diagnosis of osteoporosis, of osteoarthritis. How can we really load these people to make some tangible progress quickly? And then we also talk about marketing. we're going to have people run Facebook ads to really target the end user of the older adult, because that is a skill and it is a struggle for a lot of people. And we're going to be talking about masters athletes as well. This really untapped market of folks that are really changing the game in terms of how we perceive aging and how we can be the providers of choice for these people. So Advanced Concepts, y'all, I'm going to put a link in the Facebook post. We're very excited about this. The first cohort is going to be March 11th. Okay, so if you want to hop into this course and you've not taken Essential Foundations, there's a cohort of Essential Foundations that starts January in 2020. You can get through that and then you can hop in Advanced Concepts. And what we're going to be talking about a little bit down the road is how these courses and the live course are going to build up to a certification. Another certification within the Institute of Clinical Excellence arena, where you are going to be able to market yourself better to your patients and providers around you, but then also rest assured that you are able to handle whatever walks through that door, regardless of age, regardless of medical diagnosis. So we're excited, y'all. I'll put the link in the show notes. Ask that question again. Think about, are you the biggest limiting factor in your patient's progress? I really think we need to think about this a lot with the patient interactions that we have. So think about that. Leave a comment below. Check out the Advanced Concepts. I'll put a link in the Facebook page or Facebook video here. Otherwise, I'll talk to y'all soon.
Hey, thanks for tuning in to the PT on Ice Daily Show. If you enjoyed this content, head on over to iTunes and leave us a review. And be sure to check us out on Facebook and Instagram at the Institute of Clinical Excellence. If you're interested in getting plugged into more ICE content on a weekly basis while earning CEUs from home, check out our virtual ICE online mentorship program at ptonice.com. While you're there, sign up for our Hump Day Hustling newsletter for a free email every Wednesday morning with our top 5 research articles and social media posts that we think are worth reading. Head over to ptonice.com and scroll to the bottom of the page to sign up.